All right, Brent's in there.
Brent. All right. And I won't be able to see any of the chat, so you know, I'll just
Yeah, I have to pull it up on
I'll,
my phone.
I'll just have to take your word for it.
Okay, thank you. It says it's waiting for it, waiting for it. Can anyone hear us out there? Hello, hello, hello. Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. All right, now we're live. Now we're cooking with gas.
We're
Okay,
actually
here we
live.
go.
Wow, look at us.
Hey, I figured it out. Or actually, Gene figured it out. So let's fair. Let's be fair. All right, welcome, Bucs fans. After a preseason loss to the Lions, but I saw a lot of good things. I am joined by Buck. What you heard? Fame, Gene Thomas. He's coming on here to make the show a little better for you guys. We're going to bounce things back and forth. First off, Gene, thank you so much for coming on. It was a great idea you had. And hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. I really enjoyed the game. It was a fun game, to be honest. I mean, even though there was a loss, the first string players getting to watch a lot of them was a lot of fun. So I actually enjoyed a preseason game.
I've liked the preseason games, and it's because it's almost like we're having a quarterback battle. You know, we get to see two number ones. So I've enjoyed all the preseason games because it's actually meaningful football up till halftime, and it has been for all three. Now next week's gonna be another thing, but we'll talk about that. All right, so let's get into it, and we'll go ahead and start off with overall thoughts, and then we'll sort of break down through the offense. We'll break down the defense. I got my eye there on the YouTube chat room. Welcome to everybody, YouTube chat room. Thanks for jumping in, and I will be keep my eye on it, and I'll answer your questions as they come up. But like I said, Gene, overall thoughts
Like I
and
said,
go.
the offense really stood out to me. I was pleasantly surprised with the offense and what each quarterback was able to accomplish. Uh, I'm very comfortable with whoever is starting on day one. Uh, which will be Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm comfortable with him. It was good to see Peyton Barber get the reps that he got. And again, this is a work in progress, and this team will continue to grow, and you'll have to see more cohesion. There was a lot of injuries, but despite that, I thought the team looked really good.
Yeah, the offensive line was banged up. I can't count how many times the CBS crew talked about how banged up the offensive line was. So they showed up well, and then once the second half started, even though Ryan Griffin was throwing dimes out there, you could really, or Acu Griffin, I should say, Acu Griff. I think I'll call it that, Acu Griff. I should say. The pressure started to get to him, and then when Austin Allen got in there, he had no chance. So, let's start with the offense because I'm with you. I mean, I don't know if, and I knew this was going to happen as soon as I heard that Monk was going to call the plays. Is it Monken's play calling? Are they just executing better? Is it just better players? That toss sweep that everyone always talks about with Dirk Cutter's play calling, the short side of the field near the goal line. I think the Bucs ran like 5 toss sweeps tonight, and only one went for negative yardage. So first off, what do you think? Why is offense humming? Is it Munkin? Is it players? Is it execution? I know you can say, well, it's a little bit all three, but if I made you pick one,
It's a
what would
lot.
you say?
It's a lot less predictable than what we've seen over the past season. Uh, I mean, you could sit there and watch a game and pretty much know what play is coming up next, just despite just knowing what down it is. So, seeing a little bit more predictability. I thought that they worked well. I thought the offensive line and the quarterbacks all worked well together, and that was huge as far as keeping him upright. I especially like what Jameis Winston was able to come in and do. I think he's playing at a higher level than he was last year. A lot more consistent,
It's the
and
best I've ever seen him. Best.
yeah, yeah, hands down. And I guess one of the big things for me was Deshaun Jackson. Getting Deshaun Jackson involved in the games has been very important. And you could see the passes. And I mentioned this last year at the end of the season that I wasn't worried about Deshaun Jackson because he's consummate professional. And I felt like him and Jameis Winston would work on the chemistry issues that they had. I revert back to Jameis Winston's first year with Mike Evans, and there were chemistry issues. That was allegedly one of Mike Evans' worst years with drops and so on and so forth. They turned around and corrected that problem, and you saw what happened after that. They have been worked pretty well together since then. You saw the same thing with Deshaun Jackson last year. You would miss Jameis was missing him by a yard or two. They left a lot of yards on the field in incomplete passes, and it looks like they're on the same page, whether it's Fitzpatrick or Jameis. They are both on the same page with Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, Munkin's got these guys humming along. So let's start with quarterbacks. I think this one's going to be a pretty quick conversation. I thought I'll start it off. I thought, they all three looked good. I think they all had passer ratings over 100. I saw a tweet earlier in the night. Is there anything particular that you saw, a certain play or a certain throw, or maybe, movement in the pocket, something that you saw that stood out to you, said, I'm glad I saw that from that particular quarterback?
I liked Jameis Winston. I was especially watching Jameis Winston. Just how did he come back from having a big quarter last week, and come in and play consistently this week? That's what I've been looking for from Jameis Winston, is being consistent. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, my concern is always turnovers, an ill-advised throw here and there, and just the fact that you don't give the ball to the other side via turnover has been. I'm been pleasantly surprised with what Ryan's been able to do in the preseason.
Right. And Griff, can we start talking about future second round trade bait here?
I've been surprised by him as well. I did not expect what we've seen out of him. And obviously the coaches, they watch more film than we do. They see things a lot differently than we do. And of course, that's why they've been trying to keep him around. And I think it will be end up being a good move to keep him around.
So are we so if we look into our crystal ball and things go, we'll just say things go as planned this year. Fitzpatrick works the first 3 games, Jameis comes in, after that, Bucs go to the playoffs, maybe win a game or two. We'll leave it at that. Comes rolling around draft season. Do the Bucs say bye-bye to Fitz and keep Griffin and then draft the quarterback, or do they try to trade Griff before he becomes a free agent and wants to get a number 1 chance somewhere?
It's kind of hard to say right now. It will all depend on how Jameis Winston finishes the season, whether they stick with him or whether they move on from him.
I said playoffs. I said playoffs.
Playoffs. Oh, I'm sorry. So with that being said, I would see them moving on from Fitzpatrick. He was brought back in for a reason, and we have him for those first 3 games. You have a guy that's been able to sit back and watch the other quarterbacks and develop. And what we've seen from him. I know this is preseason, folks. For those of you that are going to say this is preseason, I do realize that. But I think he may be a good fit here, and somebody that you can depend on if your starting quarterback, whoever it may be, goes down, because he does know the system.
Yeah, I mean, after you've seen, after this question, we'll get off sort of the crazy talk, the crystal ball talk. But if what you've seen from Griffin, these past 2 preseason games, we didn't get to see him at all last year because he got hurt just about the first play he was in against Cincinnati. And then he only played with like the 3s and the 4s the year before that because Glennon was here. Would you be okay? Would you be worried if, like, say, Ryan Fitzpatrick goes down and Ryan Griffin has to start the Eagles and Steelers? I mean, do you feel a lot better about it at least right now?
Right now it's only 3 games. As long as Jameis Winston can stay healthy the rest of the time, it's 3 games. When you start being able to have game film on a quarterback, it helps you to game plan for him. So what nobody's really seen a lot out of him other than preseason. So I would be comfortable with him for 3 games.
All right, all right. So let's move on to running back. Peyton Barber looked good. I think he averaged something like 7.4 yards a carry with that offensive line that only had two starters on there with Jensen and Dotson. He was still be able to do that. Uh, Not really much to say about Peyton Barber, so let's move on to the elephant in the room. Rojo, Ronald Jones III. Did you like, or are you off the edge? If you're one of those jumping off the edge people, as in we need to see something from him this week, or I'm going to get really worried. Was it enough for you in this game from what Rojo did?
Um, there are other running backs out there. I'm looking at Sean Wilson and the burst that Sean Wilson has. He
Mm-hmm.
looked different than a lot of the other running backs that are out there as a change of pace back. I just don't see him having holes open up for him to run through. And I can't say for sure. I'm not a head coach, so I
Right.
don't know if they're like the play calling has anything to do with him having all these negative yards, or if it's how he's hitting the hole, or if he's not comfortable hitting the hole. But I just haven't seen a lot of burst out of him like what you saw in the game film from him in college. So maybe it's again, I'm not a head coach, but just basically what I'm seeing from him, it's going to take a little bit for him to get up to speed. It's one of those things that you have running backs that you can use the running back by committee and kind of get him up to speed throughout the season, possibly. But uh, I'm not really worried about him. I think that there are other running backs that can come in and handle the ball like they did in 2016.
Well, you kind of dodged the question there, Gene. I thought it was Rojo's best game by far. The only negative play that I saw was one of those toss sweeps where he had no chance whatsoever. And I agree with you. Sort of that second series when he got out there, uh, he had to sort of make his own holes. The first series, I thought he did really well. I mean, obviously he caught the ball.
Yeah,
Let's start there.
picked
But
up a
if you have to give Ronald Jones a grade, Instacast right off the top of your head, no one's gonna, put this on your epitaph or anything. Give Ronald Jones a grade for us.
I would give him a C or a B, right somewhere off in there.
So a C plus.
C plus. Let's do that.
All right, all right, all right.
Um,
So you did bring up Sean Wilson. Did this guy cement his roster spot tonight? I mean, he probably already had it anyway, but he looked great on kickoffs. I think he brought two for sure, but maybe three over the 30. And then when he caught a ball, almost picked up the first down late, and he runs hard between the tackles. Uh,
Very decisive runner. That's the one thing that I did
Good
notice
word.
about him. There's not a lot of dancing or tiptoeing. He decides this is where I'm going to hit the hole and this is where he goes. So the one thing that I did appreciate about him and actually caught my attention was the fact that he's a decisive runner and he does hit the hole.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree. Decisive is a good word for him. I think with those kickoff returns, he cemented himself in there. I thought it was going to be a real battle between him and Dare. I'm not even try his last name.
Mm-hmm.
I told myself I wasn't going to try to learn it until he made the team.
They,
Uh, Charles Sims is on IR. We know that Quiz is entrenched in the number 2 spot simply because, and you saw it tonight. He's going to pick up the blitz and he'll get you those tough yards. He's a very serviceable back. But as a number 2, he's very good. He's not going to blow an assignment. He's not going to get your quarterback killed. He can catch the ball. He can get you some tough yards. He's got a little wiggle. And now I think of course Rojo and then Sean Wilson. I just think that he's shown too much that they can't even try to put him on the practice squad and push him through waivers. So
because somebody's going to grab him if they put him on practice squad. He won't be
yeah,
there.
yeah, I think those are the 4. All right, let's move to wide receiver. You talked about Deshaun Jackson. They got him involved in a lot of routes, a lot of different routes, not just the 9 routes that we think we almost saw exclusively last year. He got a lot of balls thrown his way. OJ Howard,
Yes.
I thought he looked good. That was not a pass interference.
No. And he pretty much leveled that defender, whoever he was.
Yeah,
He laid him down for a minute.
yeah, he just bounced right off him. I also think the Mike Evans single catch was a ticky tack pass interference for him.
Yeah.
He didn't push off. He just kind of used his hand to
They were
get in
both
front.
they were both battling for the ball or both battling for position. I didn't see it like that. Again, My problem the past 3 years has been the referees have been injecting themselves into games a little bit too much, and I think this is what takes away from the NFL. And this 2018 is going to be very pivotal with all these new rule changes and how they affect games and how fans feel about that. And because basically, the fans are the engine that drives the car. So, again, how is this going to affect things?
Right. So let's get to the spot. If you're on board, I'm sure with everybody. We got we got the big four. Once again, if we keep five, are you going Watson or Martino, or do you got somebody else in that
Watson.
mix?
I would look at Watson, just how consistent he's been. I know he had a drop, but just what he's able to do and how he's able to position himself, throughout the game. I really enjoyed watching him tonight, and he would be somebody that I would closely consider. The person that got hurt, the receiver that got hurt at practice,
Sergio Bailey.
Sergio Bailey is a guy that I would have loved to seen him make the team, but again, when you have receivers like Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and of course Adam Humphries and his 109 yards, it's kind of hard. It's hard to say who is there anybody that kind of stuck out for you, because I love Watson. That was my guy tonight.
I've been saying since the Bucs drafted the guy, and I heard Jason talk about him, like they're going to give him every chance to make the team. They're even playing him on special teams, and they're making. And it looks like he's cemented himself in that second rotation. Besides the top four, he's the next guy out on the field, and they're making sure they're throwing him the ball to see what he can do. I think tonight he cemented it in there. You might even could have said he did it. The game before the Titans game with that touchdown. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Watson's a solid, and if they go six, I think it's Martino, and everyone else is just kind of fodder there. But yeah, the offense looked good. We're not going to talk about the offensive line.
Yeah, you didn't have your starters in the
Yeah,
majority.
average starters in, and
Ledke, now we got to talk about Ledke, because I
that's a
thought
good point. Go ahead.
great job. I didn't expect to see that kind of play out of him, like what we saw, and I thought he did a great job. I thought he was very, very, I want to say even kill, I was balanced throughout the game and very, very consistent, and that's kind of what you need. And I thought he did a great job. And nobody, I can tell you, other than maybe coaches or himself, nobody really looked at him as somebody that could come in and play the way he did, with this game in this game.
Yep. I'm there with you. Um, I had him, sort of rolling through my head the 53-man roster, which by the way, it's time. Like you're going to start seeing all the articles come out. Computer Report came out with theirs today. Brett and I will be doing a 53-man roster here on the Pewtercast.
You got to consider him in that 53. You
And
really
he was on the outside looking in because of Wester. Now everyone's sort of forgotten about Wester because he got hurt right before, like the practice before the Dolphins game, and he hasn't been back since.
Yeah.
Um,
And the fact that he's playing against starters and he's playing like this, even though vanilla defense, vanilla offense, whatever, but he did what he had to do to protect the quarterback. I didn't see any real deficiencies with him against that first team. And maybe I missed some plays. I'll have to go back and watch them again. But just off the top of my head, I don't remember seeing where he was a problem, protecting the quarterback.
No, I'm absolutely with you. And depending on how bad Wester's injury is, the Litke/Ledecky, we got to find out how you pronounce that. He's definitely in the conversation for sure. And I'm gonna have a hard time not finding a spot on the roster for him when we
Yeah,
do our show.
you really have to. He's somebody you really need to consider.
Especially, like Dirk Cutter said, was it the Titans game? I think it was before the Titans, or maybe it was a Dolphins game, where he only practiced at tackle for like one day, and then he's been
That was
playing.
a Dolphins game.
Yeah, so he's been doing it all three preseason games, and he's just been out there, doing yeoman's work for the team and holding up. And
Yeah.
like you said,
And
he
that's
never.
those are players you want. You want players that get the opportunity and they make a most of that opportunity. He reminds me of what happened with Peyton Barber, another guy who got an opportunity and he's made the most of his opportunity, and look where he is right now. So, uh, to his credit, I think he's done a great job, with what they've given him to do. And again, I'll be very disappointed if he didn't make the team. You want your best 53 players out there. Considering what's at stake here with the coaches, producing a 5-win season last year, they have to come out and win now. So they have to win games. It's about wins and losses and not statistics.
Brent in the chat room, who's actually chatting a lot, which is a little bit troublesome since I'm sure he's driving on I-75 somewhere. He's saying it's lead key, Leed key. So that lead key, lead key. Lead key be LED or LEAD. He's saying LEED, lead, as in read, lead key.
Lead key.
Lead key.
Okay.
Who cares? Let's get off it. All right, let's switch over to the defense. Well, no one cares. It's like what? It's here. It is actually. Oh God, I don't even know what day it is. It's actually Saturday morning here. You got a half hour to go over there in Arizona, but it's actually Saturday morning here. So, defense. The defensive line. I think they're steadily improving.
Yeah.
Um,
The thing,
I
and
Go ahead.
I'm going to put this out here,
Go
and
ahead.
you guys can crucify me if you want to. 3-and-outs scare me. There are so many opportunities to get 3-and-outs, and they weren't taken advantage of. When you have a 3rd and long, a 3rd and 9, I saw multiple 3rd and 9s that they just had to make a stop, and it didn't happen. This is a carryover from last year. We saw this last year with this team, and it's something that I would hope, I hope again that, they look at film as much as I do, but the one thing that I've noticed this game and the Titans game was the 3-and-outs at an opportune moment just weren't there. So it's something to keep an eye on. Game 1 through game 6, I know Brent talks about the first 6 games of the season.
He
This
got that from you, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's
so,
your fault.
yeah, I know. But it's something to keep an eye on, moving forward is, hey, what, are they improving? Are they getting the defense off the field so the offense can get on the field and, have a chance to score? That's one thing that I encourage fans to look at is, what are they doing in these situations? I understand bend, but don't break. But if you have an opportunity to get an opposing offense off the field, that would be the goal of the defense. That would be, in my estimation, the goal of the defense, to give your offense the ball back.
Well, I am not going to crucify you. I'm right there with you. I am, I don't want to say I'm worried, but I'm still looking at it. I'm keeping a keen eye out for the 3-and-outs or 3rd and long non-conversions.
Right.
The Bucs were really lucky that Detroit just got field goals out of there, but during the regular season, we've seen, as our team last year, those are sort of the plays that make the difference between winning and losing. So you can live with it, but I mean, they went down 98 yards and kicked a field goal, like,
Yeah.
we were lucky to stop them. And I don't say lucky, but I guess you could say the defense, didn't break, but you don't have to give up 70, 80 yards before you start, stiffening.
Right.
So, I mean, I want to talk about Will Clark because on
Okay.
Detroit's first drive, we weren't stopping the run that well. LeGarrette Blount was sort of having his way. He wasn't breaking off big chunks, but, it was anywhere from 4 to 6 yards every time he got the ball until they got in the red zone. And then Will Clark made the tackle for little to no gain 2 times in a row. And then he was the one who pushed the right tackle into Stafford's lap, where he had to roll out, and then he fired it incomplete, where they gave Hargraves a quote unquote pass breakup. It was good coverage, but he wasn't even looking at the ball. He didn't break it up. It was a throw under duress, and it wasn't a good throw, and he had good coverage, and that's that. But if it wasn't for Will Clark, that field goal might not happen. And I saw I'm gonna bring up Peter Report's 53-man roster. They didn't have him on the roster. They didn't have him making the roster. I'm a big Will Clark fan. I think he's the second best edge defender as far as setting the edge that the Bucs have, besides JPP as far as overall package. He kind of reminds me of Will Golston 2 years ago when he earned that contract.
Right.
I want you to talk about Will Clark. Are you on the same page with me with this Will Clark guy?
I really am. I mean, you saw the pass. He batted down a few passes too, I believe. And I'm pretty sure that's who that was Will Clark that batted down at
I'm
least
not
one
sure.
pass. At least one pass. But he was very active. He was very active, and I think that he's another person that really deserves a spot on this defensive line. He showed up last year, and he's showing up this year, and again, just being consistent. Fans don't look at him enough. Again, we talk about how important sacks are, but getting pressure on the quarterback is equally as important. And I believe sacks are sexy, but pressure on the quarterback is equally as important.
Yeah, I'm with you. And once again, I'm going to sort of plug. I'm not going to sort of. I am going to plug the DAX stats that will be coming this year, where
Yes,
you get points for stopping the ball carrier for less, like 2 yards or less. That gives you a point. Like if you make a tackle 4 yards downfield on a 1st and 10 rush, you don't get any points for that because you didn't do your job.
right.
Third, like stopping, if say it's 3rd and 5 and you do stop the guy for 4 yards, but hey, you didn't get the first down, that's a turnover. You get a point for that though, because it was 3rd down. So, and then maybe it's 3rd and 3 and you stop it for 1 yard. Well, then you get 2 points. You get 1 point for doing your job and 1 point for on 3rd down. So that's how it works. And you're going to see who really the playmakers are on defense. And I think Will Clark should make this team. I hope he's a lock. The only thing that scares me, like I would have said he was a lock before I read the Peter Report article. Those guys are plugged in. But it's really just an opinion, and I totally disagree with it. But what about the guy that we got from Michigan State, who was a 2nd-round pick of the Packers? Is it Worthy? I want to say. Do you know what I'm talking about?
We just recently got him. Is this what?
Yeah, he was 56, and he had 2 good penetrations, and he had the second batted ball. I want to say it's Jarrell. He might make it interesting. He flashed for me. Like he had Gerald McCoy type penetration on a couple of plays. Uh, he's only been in camp like a day or two. I know he went to Michigan State and, he was highly touted and the Packers took him in the 2nd round. And then he got eventually traded to New England, who released him immediately and then bounced around.
Jarrell Worthy.
Yes. And then bounced around a little bit and played on Buffalo for Buffalo last year.
Yeah.
Uh, we're a little, I don't want to say we're thin, but I mean, if you look at it, you got McCoy, you got Vea, who hopefully doesn't go on the IR. I don't think he will. You got McCoy, Vea, Allen, and Unrein. I guess there's not really a spot for him, but he did. I wouldn't mind having him. Do I want him before, like, more than Will Golston? Because Golston had probably his best game tonight, playing as
I
inside
was
tackle spot.
I was really shocked. I didn't expect that out of him. But again, that you got to have consistency out of him for what they're paying him. You would think that they would. I do. We're talking about the defensive line. That's something I do want to talk about, the stopping the run. That's another object.
They haven't
Real,
done it yet.
I'm really watching this very close. I'm trying to be the voice of reason here. I'm not jumping out the window, but it's something that I've continually watched since the Miami game, and I have reservations about run stopping. That's going to be huge. If the Buccaneers are going to win games, you have to get out there and you have to stop the run. I realize we had all these plays, we had all this scoring, but there are going to be times in the season where plays you're going to have to stop the run, get them off the field, and get your ball, you get your team the ball back. That's going to be a lot of times with the season, 16 games, it's a long season, so that's going to be something that has to be shored up, and it's something that again, fans, if you want to look at something, that would be something I would be watching, as well as being able to stop the run. I had no idea that the Bucs were only 25th, and there were other teams that were worse than them in rush defense. So
That's
I
just because no one ran the ball because they didn't have to.
Right.
I'm serious. Like, remember that year a couple years ago where the Bucs were like last in pass defense but first against the run?
Yes, I
Well,
remember that.
it was like total yards per game. It's because people only ran the ball like 18 times a game because they didn't have to. Like this was, I think it was right before the Hargraves year. I think like Hargraves, this was the
Yeah.
year before Hargraves got drafted, and everyone's like, we were so good against the run. It's like, no, we weren't. It's just that no one ran the ball because we were so terrible. Like, and I think that's sort of where it's at right now. I mean, they haven't stopped. I'm with you again. Those are the two things. Those are only the two things on defense that's worrying me right now. I thought the tackling was better tonight. I thought the aggression was better tonight. I thought the starting linebackers, played
Oh,
better tonight.
yeah. They
Uh,
redeemed themselves from last week.
yeah, but as far as running, like on the edges, I think we're good. Like JPP and Will Clark, I think those guys are doing. It's between the tackles, straight ahead. That is almost seems like a 4 yard, like guaranteed 4 yards. And
And
that's
that's what
that's
I'm
minimum.
really concerned. Yeah, and I'm really concerned about that. We saw several teams gash them with big runs last season, and again, it's just a matter of you. If you can touch this guy, you should be wrapping him up. And we saw a lot of missed tackles, and again, these are things that you work out during preseason. This is the time that they really need to be looking at these different things and making sure that they're executing the plays. And now I have to wonder, just kind of looking back on last season, was it execution more than play calling? Because there are a lot of times that there were missed tackles, there were huge holes, and I realized you didn't have the personnel. But again, if you can wrap up, you can tackle them, you stop them right there, and you can get off the field. There was a run by LeGarrette Blount, and they had him 2 yards short of a first down. His second effort, he gets a first down. There
Yeah.
were multiple examples of this, and I'm not being Debbie Downer about this. I'm just saying these are things that are going to rear their head in the regular season.
Right.
Uh,
These are the things we're seeing in preseason that need to be fixed before the Saints game.
yeah, absolutely. Because Alvin Kamara is a guy that's probably licking his chops just looking at the game film from the Titans game and the Bucs games, or the this game here with the Lions. So uh, got to get ready. They're gonna be ready. So it's gonna be up to this team to be ready. And just like JPP talked about in that sideline interview, there's some things they have to work out so they realize what's going on. And again, it's going to be up to them to go in and get that done. The one thing that we didn't have that I believe that we have this year is that locker room presence, that holding people accountable. Uh,
Right.
we got rid of Fat Swaggy, and he's somewhere else. I'm sure he's drowning his sorrows in a cheeseburger or something right now. But you know, when he was here, he wasn't the answer. Okay. And I think something was lost in the locker room with him when he was here. But I think they've found that back. They've gotten that back, and these guys know what they need to do on that defensive line to get better and to be competitive. So again, I'm hoping that they can go back and look at film, see things, and get them fixed up, because this Saints game is not going to be a joke. And then the game after that, you've got the Eagles, then the Steelers. So this is going to be a pretty serious first three games, and just getting to watch these other teams. I'm really, it's something to really keep your eye on.
All right, let's bounce it to the secondary. I thought it was about as best you could. I don't say best you could hope for, but I thought it was fine. No Grimes. Vernon looked really good in the slot,
They
and
were
they
a lot more
probably gave
aggressive. They were
what?
more aggressive. They were more aggressive than I've seen them in recent games going back to last year, and that's something I really appreciated too. They were, there were some plays where they were playing that soft coverage annoys me to no end, but there's nothing I can do about it because I'm not a head coach. But again, just overall, I thought they did a great job and they were very aggressive, and I expect to see more of that, as the season progresses.
We got Trevor and Orlando blown coverage, all caps, triple exclamation points. Well, it's fine. Calm down. It's gonna happen. It was a blown coverage. Agreed. Um, But yeah, I mean, you got to remember who they're going up against. Like Matt Stafford, he doesn't. I don't know. At least for me, in NFL circles, you know, he's an elite quarterback. I think fans are coming around to how actually good he is because when you hear Matt Stafford, you kind of first thing pops in your head is, oh yeah, they went 0-16, you know. But it's sort of odd now that Calvin Johnson has retired. He seems to have actually become a better quarterback, and I think he's elite. And I thought for who was out there, because like I said, no Grimes, Justin Evans didn't play either. I thought they held up well. Like you said, they were aggressive. I thought they closed on the receivers quickly,
Yeah.
and they showed good tackling, which was something that once again was suspect for um, everyone besides the defensive line last week.
Yeah, the one thing that I kind of want to go back to Matt Stafford. The guy never gets enough credit for what he's able to do. I'm trying to think of a decent Pro Bowl running back that he's had since he's been in Detroit that can help him, with that offense, because you take a lot of pressure off of the quarterback with your running game. And I can't really think of too many running backs that Detroit has had while he's been there that have, been able to really, you know, help him to open things up really. And I think a lot of that has just been kind of on his shoulders.
Yeah, and I'm not putting him in this category, but it's sort of like Dan Marino, who never got a running game, and
Yeah.
then John Elway when he finally got I want to it's not
Terrell
Terrell
Davis.
Owens,
Terrell Davis.
Terrell Davis, yeah, and all of a sudden, the lights come on. Remember how good Peyton Manning was when he had Edgerrin James? Those guys were unstoppable except for the Patriots, but they were outcoached. What are you gonna do? Those guys
Yeah.
should have won like 5 Super Bowls. All right. Well, okay. Special teams, Catanzaro missed one, but
And Twitter didn't cut him from the team. So
I didn't
uh,
see anybody even mention it on
exactly,
Twitter.
I'm very shocked. I mean, I'm looking at my list here. Rojo got cut a few times. Uh, Bernard Reedy got cut a few times, which
Bernard
yeah,
Reedy cut himself tonight. He
yeah,
dropped two,
yeah, yeah, he
three.
did. Yeah, he did. So Bernard Reedy, I think he's a leading candidate. And then of course when they were panning over to Vita Vea, another person jumping out the window saying that he's a bust already. So
Oh, I had a
like,
conversation with a guy on Twitter about that today. I mean, we were going back and forth about what were we going back and forth about? Um, oh God, I don't remember. But Obi Melifonwu.
yeah,
I was just like, I threw out my 2-year-old oh, what do you call that? Clip art? No.
yeah, the GIF.
No, the thing, oh, what's the thing you manipulate pictures with? Windows. What's that thing called? Photoshop. Oh my
Oh,
God. I'm getting so old. I can't remember anything. Photoshop, where it has, like Cutter on C3PO's body and Jason Light's head on
I
Luke's body.
remember that.
I threw it out there yesterday when the news came out that he got cut, and this guy's like, why do we need a fourth safety? And I'm like, because 3 isn't enough. And then we started going back and forth, and it basically boiled down to I don't like players that can't stay on the field or stay healthy. That's why Vita Vea is a bust. And I was just like, okay,
Okay.
good talking to you. Bye bye.
You should have cut that. You should have hung up the phone right then.
I did. I was
In,
like,
in that argument right there, that's as bad as the whole Jaws. The Jaws comment was just as bad. So
what Jaws comment?
somebody made a comment about the best shark movies, and please don't say Jaws or
Oh yeah. You probably
I,
saw that because of me.
yeah.
I was like, and unfollow.
I wouldn't block them, so I don't want to see their stuff. Who cares?
Like, it's like, yeah, Jaws is like nearly the perfect movie. It's like, okay, what's the best shark movie besides the best one ever? Don't say that, or I'm gonna yell at you. It's like, okay, bro.
Exactly.
It's like, okay. You can word it differently, like, don't say Jaws because we all know it's the best. Now that's a conversation, but taking it out of the running because you hate it. Anyway, all right. So, we haven't gone that long, so we're gonna end it anyway. It's late. Is there anything that you want to talk about? What's coming up? Somebody that surprised you, somebody that you liked. I will say about Catanzaro, and then you go. Is that after he missed that uh, extra point? I thought because he always seems to be really right or really left. Like it's close.
Yeah.
But after he missed that, it looked like he was drilling them like right down the middle, and
Middle down.
especially that that 45 yard of the last field goal he made, was super solid. So once again, I'm not worried about it. But go ahead.
Yeah. Again, everybody has been spot on with Sean Wilson. I love what he brings to this team. I would expect him to compete for more playing time. Uh, I really I liked what he brought. I don't see. I don't know. If you were looking at him as a coach, do you see deficiencies in him or anything that would prevent him from competing for more time in that running game? I love what he did in special teams.
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat room. Who we talking
Oh.
about? My
So,
bad.
I mean, do you see anything in Sean Wilson that would prevent him from competing for playing time? Because I again, I didn't really see a lot of deficiencies with him, and I'm not sure why he's stacked where he is, just based on his play and what I don't know if it's because of the injury and then he came back and this is what we've just seen from him, or is there something else to that?
Well, there's a couple of things to it. One, he wasn't a second round draft choice, so there's that. Uh, Two, he's a rookie running back, and even though I think he's got probably the kickoff, uh, return lockdown, I don't mind him at punt return either. Sometimes he gets a little post hole, like legs in post hole baby giraffe when he looks up too much. I saw that in practice, haven't seen it in a game. I guess you could say if the Bucs only keep three running backs, that could be a possibility. But it's where he was drafted, and that we haven't seen him play enough meaningful snaps where Cutter can trust him in pass protection. We all know that's the thing for Cutter. You want to get in the field as a running back, it really doesn't matter how you run. It matters how you pass protect. If you're on an NFL team as a running back, you can run the ball. To get on the field with Dirk Cutter, you have to be perfect or nearly flawless. Know what you're doing in pass protection. And if you don't, you're not going to climb up the ladder. And that's not saying he doesn't or he can't, he's not getting it. It's just I don't think he's had enough snaps actually running the ball
Mhm.
uh to show that he can or can't do it. And that's going to be a practice thing. That's why he's there. I mean, who are you going to put him above though? I mean, I like him too, but the only person I would feel comfortable putting him above is Jacquizz Rodgers. But Jacquizz Rodgers is such a solid pass protector. I mean, you
Yeah,
saw it tonight like 3 or 4 times. I mean,
yeah, he keeps the
that
quarterback upright.
yeah. So then I would automatically like go, okay, well, Jacquizz Rodgers is in front of him, and even you might say he's outplayed Rojo, which I don't think is true as far as just running. Um, uh, I just think Rojo's a better, more talented back. He's a little bigger, a little stronger. Like when it was like 3rd and 12, and Austin Allen threw that pass out to him, and he came up 2 yards short. If that same pass went to Rojo, I would bet he would make that first down.
Yeah,
That's sort of the difference. Then he's just stuck behind. That's just where he is. Not his fault.
yeah, absolutely. So, I guess I know you're getting ready. We're gonna roll out of here. I know it's late. I do
Oh,
want to
if yeah, if you got something to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I just want to get this out here. I hope that folks can look at things objectively, and just give it time. This defensive line is a brand new defensive line compared to what you saw last year. I look at a lot of players, and it takes a few games in regular season to gel or put things together to where you can be consistent. So I think that you have the right players. I thought the JPP move makes more and more sense just getting to watch him off the field and just his overall presence. Brinston Buckner is another huge piece of this. Bruce Arians was talking about defensive linemen getting their hands in the air, and that's something I noticed tonight. Was you saw a little bit more of that, where there were balls being knocked down, whether it was Matt Stafford or Matt Castle. So again, it's one of those things. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to come together, but there's 16 games in the season, and I really have high hopes for this team.
All right. I'm gonna save my little nugget for the very end, and then I'm gonna back out of the broadcast and Watch the chat room go berserk. So yeah, that's it for us. Thanks for everyone in the chat room that stayed up, or if you're on the West Coast, maybe you're not staying up. It's just normal time for you. For going ahead and hanging out with us. As soon as this is done, I'm going to go ahead and clip it and throw it up on the podcast. So if it is Saturday morning for any of you and you're listening to this, you're welcome. I stayed up to do it for you. It should be up there when you wake up. Gene, first, thank you for making me look bad on my own podcast with your fancy graphics and your great screen there. But where can everybody find you on Twitter, and tell them about your pod on YouTube and what you got coming up and all the good things you do over there at Buck What You Heard.
Okay, you can reach me at Super Heavyweight, and yeah, if you do follow me, I'll follow you back. We do our show on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be joined by Michael Pless. And it's good. We have fun with it. Football again. It's a fan sport, and we try to keep the people that listen or in the chat. We try to keep them as involved as possible. So, you come in and you can get in the chat. I'll try to respond to you if I can. It's nothing intentional. If I don't get to you, I try to get to people that I missed the first week, the next week. So, fans are the most important part of what we do, and they're needed. So, it's something I'll always, put them first before anything else.
Yeah, I always tell Brent probably, but 80% of the stuff we do is for the fans. The other 20% is just because we like to hear ourselves talk.
Self gratification.
Yes, exactly. Listen to how smart I am. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. And follow us on Twitter at the Pewtercast, just like the way it's spelled. Or follow the creator and co-host of the Pewtercast, Brent Allen, at Brent Allen Live. We're also across Pewtercast, also on Facebook and Instagram, and now our new YouTube channel that you're watching now or commenting on. You can go check that out. Like and subscribe. Something about Patreon, I'm supposed to say. I don't really know much about it, but
You need to get one of those shirts, my friend.
What's that?
I need to get one of those shirts.
Yeah, go. They're for sale, buddy. red bubble, red double. I don't know. It's go to the Pewtercast.
Bubble Yum.
Bubble Yum. I don't know. There's some app out there that they're on there, man. You get you a shirt, you can get you a phone case, get you a cooler, you get you a duvet cover, you got a clock. I mean, they'll slap this logo on anything that you want to buy, my friend. You probably get some boxer shorts eventually too. But there's a bunch of shirts there as well. And for the end, I want everyone to say hello to Orange Kitty. That's not the tease, but he's my favorite cat. There's 3 of them here. None of them are mine. That one's cool. Watch out for Noah Spence, man. He's not looking good in the preseason. And apparently from what I heard, how should I put this? The word is that he doesn't have a plan when he's rushing the passer. He's just going off natural instinct, and that's not sitting well with Brinson Buckner. So, Noah Spence in the doghouse. Peace, everybody. See you later.